Um, I don't know if you know this, but there's actually a shortage of accountants nationwide to start with. Most young people are if they're interested in numbers, they're gravitating more towards coding. That's what's been pushed, and they see it as sexy. You know, it's cool, it's sexy, or they want to be in finance on Wall Street.
Hmm.
But nobody seems to be wanting to go back into accounting. They see it as this very unsexy, late nights, hard work, which is true, you know, um, with not a lot of reward. And then you take into consideration a lot of accountants don't want to work with anybody in the cannabis field because they
Hmm.
feel like they are at risk themselves. How have you been able to overcome that?
What's interesting, we haven't had that issue, maybe because we're not cannabis and we're hemp, which is,
Okay.
federally legal. So we haven't
Mhm.
really had too many issues with that. The one thing when we found you know, we found somebody who's willing to work with us, and an inexpensive rate. But I think that the one thing that we've seen is kind of when you're dealing with cannabis or hemp, everybody's like, oh, these guys are making so much money, we're going to charge them a premium. And so I think that that's like another area that's quite frustrating. It's like there's especially on the cannabis side, there are like you can't like I think you're paying tax on top line revenue. I don't think that there's any real
You
expenses.
are,
And
yeah.
yeah.
You're paying
So
tax on
all of
top
a
of it.
sudden your tax bill is egregiously large. I mean, most companies, like, their job is to basically make sure that their taxable income is as close to zero as they can get it, right? They don't want to show a huge number of net income. And so anyway, so like I think that the where I think a lot of people can come into a challenge is the the accountants can kind of charge some accountants can charge that premium, which,
Right.
like, they're like, hey, I'm taking a little bit more risk by taking you on as a client, and for those reasons I'm also going to, in
Double my fee
charge.
or triple my fees,
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a
I'm
challenge.
not one that does that. I've had people try to tell me that I should do that, but I just it's a business and the
Hmm.
business's job is to improve the bottom line. And in order to do that, the first thing we want to reduce as much as possible is taxable income. That's my job. You know, I say I'm Robin Hood. The government's rich. At least they
Hmm.
think they are. And you and I and most small business owners are not. So my
Hmm.
job is to try to make sure that the tax burden is as low as possible. And one of the ways that I do that is I just charge the same regardless of industry.
Hmm.
So in fact, I'll
That's
probably charge more for construction because I know that industry. And the guys that are in construction are great people that have no clue about business.
Yeah.
So
The other interesting thing on the accounting side that I find fascinating is the tax strategy for not
mhm.
necessarily for the business, but for the actual owners. I think that that's like kind of an industry that's really, well, it's significantly undervalued in terms of its importance. I think that that's like, and a lot of accountants don't want to go near it. They just want to stay away. They kind of want to stay in their lane. They don't want to. Um, uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's really hard for like W-2 employees to kind of have like a lot of strategy around what they're doing. But all of a sudden, when you're cash rich and you run a cash flow business, it's um and that's not us, by the way, but I just find it very interesting for these other folks that are, there's very limited strategy that goes into where their dollars are going, and where they're investing them, and what makes sense based on their lifestyle and the whole strategy around it. It's
Yeah,
a really
yeah.
interesting
And
field.